What's going on, everyone? Jake here from Chrome, and BetaFPV just released two new 65mm whoops. We've got a freestyle version and we've got a racing version. They're pretty much the same thing with one exception. The motors and the props are different on the racing than they are on the freestyle. This is a very different take on a tiny whoop than their Meteor series, being a much lighter, faster drone. It's very much like the new 2024 Mobula 6. Now I've ripped through a bunch of different batteries on both of these drones. You can see I got some grass remnants here on both of them. Lots of fun. I'm going to talk about flying them inside. I'm going to talk about flying them outside. And I'm going to talk about which one I think is better for you. All right, so we're going to get into these drones, and I think you might be a little surprised. Okay, so right off the bat, let's talk about some of the things that we have going on here. It is a new frame. It is a lightweight frame, and they actually make a few different color versions if you're not up with the blue. BetaFPV sent me this purple one, but I'm probably just going to leave it in this box. This is an all-new flight controller, super lightweight, 0.8 of a millimeter thick, and only 2.9 grams. This uses a new processor, a G473. That's supposed to be better than the F411. They tell me it's a fancy gyroscope ICM 42688P. Supposed to be really good. And there are multiple UARTs still available. Now, in all seriousness, this thing is so fun to fly, especially outside, whether I was going with the freestyle or the racing. I really enjoyed this. This is absolutely the best whoop that BetaFPV has made, and I would say flying this thing outside, this is my preferred analog whoop. It just was super responsive. It could do dives, it could do rolls, it could do power loops. It would pull out of dives without a problem, both the freestyle and the racing version. Now, actually, I prefer the racing version outside doing freestyle and the freestyle version inside doing more maneuvers. But I'll get to that in a second. There's a real reason why, and it may be not what you think. The only difference between these two are the motors and the props. Motors on the racing version here are 28,000 kV, and they have a thicker, more aggressive propeller, whereas the freestyle version has a smaller propeller and the motors are 23,000 kV. That is really the only difference between the two. Now, why do I prefer the freestyle inside? Well, it's because it's a little bit tamer, and I actually prefer that because I'm not quite as dialed in as a racing pilot. I like it to be just a little bit slower. Slow and steady wins the race for me. But when I get outside and doing freestyle, I actually like that power there because, you know, it's open. I can do more flowy things. It's going to pull just a little bit better. The responsiveness is what I like flying freestyle. So I don't know that freestyle and racing are great numbers, but the racing one is faster. It's more nimble. The freestyle one, you're going to get a little bit more smooth flights out of it, and the batteries are going to last just a little bit longer. Now, speaking of batteries, BetaFPV is also releasing new batteries. These are their Lava series. We got a 300 and we got a 260. The 260 is a little bit shorter and just fits in there kind of perfectly for balance. Now, I was getting right over 2 minutes of flight time with the 260s and about 2.5 with the 300s. Now, I do fly fairly conservatively with these batteries so that I don't overly discharge them. Once I kind of get a low battery warning, I bring it in and I land. Now, I could absolutely push it if I wanted, and they say you're going to get up to maybe 4 minutes of flight time, but I think that's really pushing it on one of these batteries. It is interesting that this version does not have a built-in ELRS receiver. That was kind of added, and I guess they're making a 5-in-1 that does in fact have built-in ELRS. That'd be awesome. Save weight on this thing. This thing is about 17 grams. Just over 17 grams, I believe. And if they integrated that ELRS receiver, I don't know, maybe they're going to save a little bit of weight that way. They haven't released that flight controller, so we will see. Camera is this CO3, and it's a pretty decent picture. I did fly my Mobula 6 to compare, and I think I like this camera just a tiny bit better, although kind of hard for me to really make that claim because I did pop off the UFL, so I get kind of a little bit of feedback on my Mobula. I'd suggest taking a tiny bit of welder glue on any tiny whoop and just put a dab right there, right over the UFL connector, so that antenna doesn't come off and damage your reception. Now the VTX is switchable up to 400 milliwatts. That's what I ran mine on, and the reception was decent. I probably got about, I don't know, maybe close to 200 meters away before I started to get some of that breakup. So not super awesome, but not terrible. And if you are running at 400, it's gonna get hot. Something that's a little different on the BetaFPV drones, they've been doing this with a lot of them. There's no USB direct connection here. They give you this little dongle, plug that in, and then you need a USB-C to connect to your computer for Betaflight and things like that. This canopy angle can be changed. If you want to fly more aggressively, you just move it back and it kind of pitches that angle up. I found that angle to be just about right for me. This is a BT 2.0 connector on the back. It's actually a pretty chunky BT2. Kind of has that stop and come back look. That's a really interesting gigantic connector, and I guess they did that because their batteries don't have lead wire, so it makes it easier to connect. I think they probably could save a little weight with a better design, but who knows. Now I did also fly these drones on some G&B batteries, both 300s and 380s, with this A30 connector, which is of course compatible with BT 2.0, no problem. I was flying these guys with my Boxer radio here, and to connect it to the Boxer, basically what you're going to do, you need to plug it in. You're going to wait for this blue light to start flashing quickly, and that's going to create a Wi-Fi connection so you can connect it and flash your binding phrase. Okay, so once it starts flashing like that, go onto your computer, connect to ELRS, and you're going to go to 10.0.0.1, and enter your binding phrase, and boom, it'll connect right to your remote. Now when I fly these guys indoors, I generally fly in angle mode because I find it easier to recover. Now if you're gonna fly outdoors in acro mode, one thing I always do, and I did this with both of these, and I'm glad that I did, is put on acro crash recovery. It's really hard to recover when you bump into things if you're flying acro, but if you have crash recovery on, it's a lot easier. And you're gonna do it by going into the CLI, crash recovery on, super simple, click save, and boom, it's gonna make this thing easier to fly. There are a lot of different options out there. These are really good. The Mobula 6 is really good. Newbie drone, I got one of those coming, I'm gonna test that. I've heard it's pretty good as well. So lots of great options. I don't know the exact cost on this. They sent this to me pre-release, so we'll figure that out. I'm guessing it's right around $100. Could be a little more. Probably not, a little bit less. I can't wait until they put out something like this with HD0. This is Mobula 6 with HD0. I love HD0, and it'd be great to fly this versus just my standard analog, which is okay. Like, let's be real, flying whoops indoors, this is just fine, but HD0 I think is the way to go, and that should be coming soon, I'm guessing. I'd also love to see a slightly larger form factor. Maybe we're gonna get a 75 version of one of these, an 85 version, who knows? That also would be pretty cool. Anyway, I hope that was helpful. Hard to go wrong. Both of these are super fun to fly. The racing version is faster. The freestyle version is a little easier to control. You're gonna get a little bit better in terms of battery life on the freestyle as well, but hard to go wrong either way. Hope this was helpful. Good luck everyone, and happy flying.